Okay. Welcome back. Solo role Mangging, Shadow of the Weird Wizard, generic Hexcrawl number 6279. You know, there's nothing generic, I suppose, about any campaign. Everything is always a little unique in some way or another. Yeah, so I think I'm actually going to go ahead and run a Hexcrawl for my family to see how it goes, and just kind of come up with some stuff ahead of time, come up with some stuff on the spot. I think it could work fairly well. And there's an article that I read online, a blog post. I don't know if you call it an article, but the blog post about how any good campaign can start with just 3 hexes. Not counting your home base, because that's just a given. So you have a hex map like we have here, but you don't fill out the whole thing. You put the little village in the center, maybe you come up with some details for the village, and maybe you come up with some details about your setting, you know, just a few sentences. And then you just put a few other hexes adjacent to it. And each one has, you know, a notable feature to it, whether it's a dungeon or a camp of some kind or a landmark, something, you know. And then that's it. And that's how you start the whole campaign. That's basically all the prep you do. And then from there, it's up to the players to go, you know, towards one of those locations or go towards a different direction and just kind of experience the world. And that's the minimum, you know, amount of prep you really need. I think it's kind of interesting. So I'm doing something pretty close to that. I've not fleshed out too much. And we'll just go with the flow. For this campaign that we're running, though, last time we finally took care of the orcs and the goblins completely. They're off the face of the map. Pretty much. We didn't kill every last orc. We didn't kill the elderly and the children and stuff. We could, if I was really concerned that they'd be an issue, but I don't think they will be. So we will just let them scatter and die off in a natural way. In doing so, we hit level 2. And, you know, good amount of power from that. Get lots of new spells. So, Truco now has the Symbolism Tradition. Which gives him the Rune of War. Kind of a pre-combat buff for a minute, which is pretty good. Baffling Pattern, sort of AoE Cognito Hazard for a minute. And then the Brand of Cruelest Burning. A nice free action that he can put when he hits a target to put a debuff on him. Melee or ranged. So if we want to snipe down a big target, Rune of War and then Brand of Cruelest Burning. Pretty solid. Balance picked up the Evocation Tradition. And so now she has very harmful voice. She's got Word of Breaking, just a spammable action to deal a d6 damage to any creature or object near her. I mean, it's pretty potent. Go up to any fucking wall. And by the rules as written, she could just spam this like 10 times. And probably less than that, really. And break through a section of a wall big enough to crawl through or walk through. Really, it's a size 1 section of the wall, and that would have 20 health. So 4 or 5 times of just spamming Word of Breaking. And it doesn't really say how loud she has to say the Word of Breaking, so I don't know if that's a whisper situation or not. It says speak specifically. You know, I don't know if it's I don't know if that's just a word they use, but it does say you can use an action to speak the word of breaking. And since evocation goes into a lot about whispering versus speaking and shouting, I assume this is the speak tier of volume. Which if we go by the other things means that anything within 10 yards could hear you. So not the stealthiest way to break down a wall, but what is? There is no stealthy way to break down a wall. Stealthy ways to, like, move through a wall, but still, there's a lot of applications for just breaking shit at will. We also got Harmful Syllable, casting 1. Notably, novice spells of the evocation, and only novice spells. This does not follow through for expert and master, but novice spells do not require an action to cast them, as long as you're not confused, stunned, or unconscious. You can only cast 1 per turn, so you can't cast like 4 syllables in 1 turn. It's just 1. But still, lets you do a syllable and then cast some other spell, or shoot a bow, or whatever, or hinder a target, or who knows what. And then the other notable thing is that you can choose how effective it is, or how powerful it is, based on whispering, speaking, or shouting. So that determines, like, the radius of the spell and the effect. So Harmful Syllable, size 3, 10, or 60 space. All creatures take 1d6, 2d6, or 3d6. 3d6 damage to every creature within 60 yards is quite insane for a novice level spell. I think we can all agree on that. Now, it is indiscriminate. That's allies, enemies, and innocent bystanders. I mean, it's everything. And it's one of those things that's like, and a lot of people do bring this up of like, how does something like that impact the setting of a world, you know? This is a novice tier spell that theoretically, based on like the lore in universe, based on the random tables I saw, someone could just study and learn. And this allows you to do this. 3d6 on average will kill a normal person. So someone could just study, read some books and learn how to shout a word that will kill everybody within 180 feet of them. It seems kind of insane. It seems a little insane. And that's why it's best not to think about it too much. Because if you're the type of player or DM or whatever that really wants a very, very tight, realistic setting when it comes to magic, typically you're looking at low fantasy, if anything. You know, you're typically looking for like a Conan universe or something like that, where magic exists, but it's very like ritualistic. It takes a lot of time and effort to produce effects, which are supernatural, which are beyond the realm of physics and all that sort of stuff. But it's not something you're just going to walk around and shout a syllable that kills people, things like that. Because once you break down magic into high fantasy, where wizards are relatively common, it just opens up a whole big ball of worms when it comes to logistics and realism and blah, blah, blah. And the setting typically will break apart. That's why there's not really many movies or books or anything that have like D&D style magic. It's just kind of ridiculous. Anyways, moving on. Hateful syllable, perhaps even more ridiculous and harmful and horrible. Same size 310 or 60, but all creatures within the radius must use a reaction to attack the nearest creature to them. Whether that's, you know, their mortal enemy or their fucking mother. Doesn't matter. Attack. And if they don't have a reaction, which is uncommon, most creatures do have a reaction because they either don't have an ability in their stat block that allows them to use a reaction on something, or they haven't taken an opportunity attack. There's been some discussion about this in the Discord I've seen as to what reactions are available to creatures, because the book doesn't really specify. It just kind of implies that they only have the free attack reaction available. I don't remember where exactly it went into that. It was just like a little blurb. But yeah, it implies that enemies don't have access to all reactions, which makes sense, and a lot of people agree with that. You don't want to bog down combat with like 8 goblins where they all get the dodge reaction and shit like that. It's just like, no, keep it simple. Either they have something in their stat block or they can do a free attack, an opportunity attack. So typically enemies are going to have a reaction available to them. Now, it raises the question, and I didn't see this mentioned at all in the Discord, but obviously it raises the question of, can my allies just plug their ears temporarily? Because it says here, evocation spells, you must be able to hear in order to cast an evocation spell, and creatures must be able to hear your voice. So what are the rules then if my allies want to plug their ear holes for a moment while I shout? I don't know. I don't even know where I'd get into that kind of ruling, but I feel like we're gonna have to, because it's, especially for only one other character next to me, it's really easy for balance to just like be like, okay, plug your ears, and then she shouts her harmful syllable, you know. I think I'd say it's probably a reaction. That would probably be the best way to do it. You could resolve it as a minor activity, which costs movement, but that feels maybe a bit too cheap. I don't know. I could see the argument for it, to be honest. It is very much, it sounds very much like a minor activity. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because what's the difference between like drawing a weapon out or retrieving an item from your backpack is 2 yards of movement. It's a minor activity. Yeah, no one's going to argue that plugging your ears for like 3 seconds is more than that. Now, my argument, however, is that minor activities are all done on your turn, whereas this would be something that you are reacting to when it's not your turn. And so for that reason, I'm gonna go with a reaction. And if you've taken the initiative or something like that, bum luck. You should have communicated better with your team. Unless you're the type of DM that allows like no communication between players, like out of character. But yeah, most people I think at the table will chat a little bit about their plans for the round. So really all the balanced player has to do at the start of the round is say, hey, I'm gonna use harmful syllable this turn. Make sure you have a reaction to plug your ears. That's how it's gonna be. That's how it is. It's done. It's done. Okay. So we progressed some other stuff, or really we thought about some other stuff. The big problem in the village now, outside of the orcs and the goblins, is of course this curse that's growing. These massive crops that are sprouting up cause people to become sick, maybe die, and then afterwards they get an insatiable hunger. You know, it's really the big talk of the town now that no one has to worry about the orcs anymore. The family, the patriarch, you know, is obviously concerned about the curse. He does care about the village's well-being to a degree, you know, certainly. So he's definitely concerned about the curse. He's upset about the orc situation, because he can't skim off the top anymore. It's going to be harder. Because you think about it, it's like, what does he do? What does that family do? How do they get food? Who gives them food otherwise? You know, it's not entirely like a sustenance farming settlement. There's an apothecary, you know, money does exist. We have money. We trade with the merchants that move through all the time. So money exists. But the patriarch, unless he is actually taxing the people, that whole family doesn't really do much. They've been just kind of suckling. I'm sure he's got, you know, his stores of cash and stuff like that, and his stores of food supplies and stuff. But yeah, he's gonna have to come up with something now to profit off of once again. That's his problem though, not mine. I think the cultists, you know, our charismatic priest, he's probably gonna try to convert the patriarch and that whole family. But it's not, I don't think that's really a priority, especially with the way the winds are blowing. You know, it's not like the family has a lot of authority right now, or a lot of respect and love. So, I don't know. Things have worked out well for our two characters. But we're investigating this charismatic priest because, you know, one way or another, some people are curious that this whole curse started after this priest showed up. Something like that, you know, something nudged us towards him, so we started scouting him out, and I think we did the rolls for that, and those went pretty well. And so we've just kind of been observing him from a distance. Very hands-off here. More recon, more stakeouts, blah, blah, blah. This is what you do. So we can recover all our spells from that. And so, yeah, one evening, like 4 or 5 days later, we are watching this guy, and we see him leave the village, heading east a bit. He's got a lantern, you know, he's out there. And we're stealthy. And he walks for about 20 minutes. Till we see some other lanterns in the distance. And he meets up with some other individuals. And now if we wanted to get close enough to over here, that would be a new stealth check. Yeah, I let them get this far based on their previous success. But now if they want to get in there in the moment and find out more than just the fact that this guy's meeting at night with some robed individuals, they're going to have to sneak up a little bit more. Honestly, Balance is probably the best person to do this with certain outcome. She can just guarantee a crit, which is pretty damn good. No one else can do. I mean, you know, yeah, Truco is a +3. He's got trickery, so he guarantees a boon and stuff. But still, you roll a 1, you roll a fucking 1. Certain outcome, there's no roll. You get a 20. It's very good. It's once per rest, yeah, but it's nighttime. What else are we gonna be doing? So really, Balance is like, I got this. I can see that I will succeed. So she's gonna use certain outcome when she has to roll, and she crits. Again, not that that means anything most of the time. But she succeeds. There's no issue. There's no chance of getting caught here. All right, so what does she overhear from this conversation between our charismatic priest, Father Bastion, and these robed individuals? Pretty much, you know, he's reporting to them. He's reporting on the goings-ons in the village. He doesn't ever mention a curse because they don't consider it to be a curse. So they refer to it as the gift, of course. So he says that the gift is progressing well. They have a number of converts, and the prospects look quite good for the entire village to be blessed within probably, I don't know, a few weeks. Because you know, well, maybe that's a little fast if we're basing this all on crops, but this is magical crops, so they're sprouting up fast. They're sprouting up big and fast. And really, there are no other normal crops for many other farmers now. So they're not going to have much choice. So, yeah, it's a pretty accelerated timetable. This is quite the nasty little curse that he's planted there. But yes, he said, you know, the gift is progressing well, blah, blah, blah. He does mention that there are 2 potential interlopers that seem quite capable. They've recently caused some upsets in the town's status quo. They saved the patriarch's young boy from a venomous death, and they have apparently dealt entirely with the local orc and goblin camps somehow, and they also fended off a couple of an assassination attempt as well, and they've emerged completely unscathed through the whole thing. So they represent potentially a rather large threat to their operations, both in the village and further out. So Father Bastion is unsure how to proceed when it comes to those two. And the other cultists, you know, will ask, like, why have they not received the gift yet? Which is a good question. It is honestly a good question, because food is going to run out. And unless the characters come up with some sort of alternative means of provisions, you know, some other food that they can find. And I think this is where I would start to kind of lean towards that a little bit. It's like, okay, you know, there's not much food left in town. If you're going to be eating something in town, you're probably going to have to look towards these, you know, new giant crops that people are taking in. Which is probably enough of a not. I mean, no one is really going to be like, yeah, I'll eat the giant crops. I would imagine most people are going to start foraging for their food or hunting for their food. We are in a rural village, and especially if you've got like a group of 6 players or something like that, somebody is going to be quite capable of like foraging or hunting for food for the group. So it's obviously not something that I'm gonna like catch the players in and like, you ate some of that giant fucking squash, you dumbass. Obviously most groups are gonna be quite wary of it and get their food elsewhere. And really, you know, plenty of groups might start really being vocal to the rest of the town about, no, they really shouldn't be eating this shit. It's clearly bad. And depending on what the players do and how things like that, you know, Father Bastion and the cult may have to much more directly target them. Maybe with another assassination attempt, or maybe trying to slip something into their... I don't know. I don't know the approach that I would take that would be more direct. I think Father Bastion's best approach would be to just, like, remain charismatic and well-liked and use his words to try and convince the locals that they are incorrect. That what they're saying is a little bit heathenous, maybe, against Grandfather Tree. But anyways, we don't have to worry about that. We didn't do any of that. But yeah, so the cultists are wondering, well, why have they not taken the gift? You know, why are they not blessed? And this is probably where the priest would suspect that they're foraging for their food, or what, you know, they're specifically seem to be avoiding it. And so the cultists might suggest that he let them handle it. They will take care of these potential interlopers. And this is where players might decide to just ambush this small group. Because if you suspect the priest is evil, which he is, and you suspect the cultists are all evil, which they are, there's not much harm in just slaughtering all of them right here. The harm, I would argue, is that if you want to find the rest of the cultists and their whole lair, you'd want to probably follow them back. Again, it depends on how much of the map you have available. I don't think I'd show them that religious cult landmark, though. I think I'd really like I'm gonna do for my family. Like, really, you have your home base, the home village, and then just like one hex around it, so they wouldn't see the 13, the cult landmark. So they wouldn't know really where these guys are operating out of. So they could follow the cultist back. They could also just kill the priest as he's walking back to town. Because he is a threat to the village, apparently. But I don't know. Killing him has the real potential to turn him into a martyr. Something could go wrong, and if the locals find out that they killed him, or even worse, tried to kill him, and he lives, you know, and can inform everyone and turn the whole town against them, like, you know, that's the end of it. Our players would just have to flee and leave the village to be fucked, which in the end is not great, because that furthers the cult's goals quite a bit. As I said, it's a big get for them. So whether the players are cognizant of it or not, it is kind of important that they resolve this in a positive way. So I don't think they're gonna kill the priest just in cold blood here. They want to get to the bottom of this and resolve the curse. They need to fix the curse, and of course there's no guarantee and really no good reason to think that killing the priest will fix the curse. They don't know what to do about the curse, but it's sort of like, and right now, like I said, as a DM, I don't know how to fix the curse. A lot of things you do as a DM are definitely guided by player actions, which is an interesting sort of reversal. You think at the DM, okay, you know, he rules the whole world, he runs everything, he knows everything, but no, really a DM is just a response to what the players are doing. If the players go in this direction, if the players start thinking in this direction, you know, the DM usually wants to be like water, you know, and sort of just go with the flow of that. You don't want to push back against your players. If they suspect something is up with something and they really are like, okay, this is weird, this is crazy, we got to investigate this, blah, blah, blah. It's really not in good form as the DM to just be like, nah, there's nothing going on there, you guys are dumb. It's like, no, if they create a problem in their heads, you create a problem in the game, you know, to match it. Yeah, I mean, you can subvert expectations, but it still should be interesting. It shouldn't just be, yeah, no, you guys were just wrong. Sorry. Go do something different. Which is, again, another tricky part of solo RPGs, because I have one mind and only one mind. So I can't really react too much to myself, which is usually why we do dice rolls on the Oracle and stuff, but we have done very little of that. I've been much more in a DM mode. Anyways, I think what we want to do then is follow the cultists. Figure out where they're operating out of, how many there are of them, you know, how capable they seem to be. That sort of situation. So that's really all the information that they're going to get out of this meeting. You know, he'll say he'll you know, they'll meet again in like a week for another update or something like that. And the cultists have said that they'll deal with the interlopers. And he probably provides like a description of Balance and Truco. What would they actually do? I don't know. Probably another assassination attempt or something. Or they might start weaving some other curse. Clearly they have some sort of magical abilities. So they might start weaving some sort of curse against the two. I don't know. You know, it depends. It depends on how the players handle it from here. Because they could follow the cultist to their lair and then just deal with the cultist right there. You know, do something. And then it's all a moot point. All right, so how do we want to do this? It's probably going to be more stealth checks. This is a tricky, I mean, because we're following, like, say, 3 cultists. They have lanterns, so they can see where they're going. It is dark out. This is later at night. And we don't have any lights. And we're trying to creep through, like, you know, wilderness and, like, you know, sort of a wooded area and stuff without alerting them to our position. Honestly, like, I could see definitely a Bane being implemented here, but I'll be nice enough and say that they can keep a pretty good distance because the cultists do have lanterns. So we're just following the lanterns, really. We're not following the cultists. So we can be pretty far away. And then if we do, like, step on a twig or something, it's not the end of the world. They might stop and turn and look, but they won't see anything. So, yeah. Let's just see how it goes. If we both fail, then they might get tipped off, but that's pretty unlikely. Truco has a boon. He already succeeds. And Balance also succeeds. So there you go. We're fine. Okay, so we follow the cultists to their lair. What is their lair? Where would the cultists set up? Where would they post up shop? How many are there? You know, things like that. And all things of that nature. We could look towards, like, I don't know, a court? I guess it's a religious court, right? I mean, it is. And if we want to flesh out the cult a bit more, this would be what we'd look at. I mean, it specifically mentions secret cults. So, you know. Their relation with the larger faith. That's true. I mean, this is obviously not all of the members of the... They wouldn't call themselves a cult. They'd call themselves, like, the Pact of Consumption. Or something. Yeah, so something like that. Pact of Consumption. So this is just, you know, a cell of that larger religion that's here. I don't think they're super widespread or anything. But, yeah. I guess I'll roll. We'll just see. 9. Zealous, full of fervent believers. Okay, so these are really, like, the most sort of forward-thinking of the religion, which is why they're out here on the borderlands, trying to willfully spread their blessing to everything. Yeah, that makes sense. People of the court. So we have a stern inquisitor. I don't know if it makes sense for this to have an inquisitor. Actually, most of this doesn't really make much sense. It's a little tricky because you have, you know, these tables that are meant to fit for temples, monasteries, seminaries, secret cults, or strictly secular academic institutions. And there's a wide range between a small eldritch, cult compared to, like, I don't know, one of the major temples of the empire or something. It's kind of a big difference. Internal conflicts. Zealot reformers demanding impractical reforms. But they're all zealous. It's just like... I don't think I have to overcomplicate this cult, especially at this point in the game. Like, they're pretty much what you'd expect. So as for their location... It's more of a ruin, if anything. Here, what basic kind of ruin is it? Grand private residence or manor. Okay, fine. So this is like our, the manse sort of in the woods here. Very old, quite decrepit, and the cult has been working on, making basic repairs here and there. Just to patch it up to, like, keep the rain out and stuff like that. But they stumbled upon this and they decided that this could very well work. And it's a lot better than setting up in, like, a flooded temple, or something like that. Like, this is at least a house, technically. Still has seen much better days, but it's quite a bit better than when they first arrived, which would have been, I don't know, like a month ago, probably about a month ago. Good. Yes. So we have a manse. And now we need to figure out how many cultists there are. Honestly, I don't think there'd be a massive number. These are like, the zealous sort of forward, unit, the forward cell. They have the charismatic priest who's in town. And then the rest of them, there doesn't need to be that many. And I'm not really sure what they do, like, day to day here. They weave curses, I guess. Maybe some of them study tomes or something here. Yeah, I don't know. What do cultists do all day? I think they just have sex and smoke drugs, really. So I don't know why this group would be any different, I guess. So I don't know, maybe there's like 8 here. So there's the 3 that we've now followed, and then there's a handful of others, and probably one higher ranking individual that actually has, like, some good magic spell potential. So we do have stats for cultists. So there's a normal cultist, difficulty 1. Then there's cult deacons. There's a cult leader, which is difficulty 2. And then a cult priest, difficulty 4. And then the high priest, difficulty 8. Now, I don't think we're going to deal with a high priest here. Even though we could. But, you know, we'll say that the bigwig here is a priest. And then all the rest are deacons. No difficulty 1s anymore. We're level 2, goddammit. We don't need difficulty 1s. So we'll say 6 deacons, 1 priest, and then Bastion is also a priest. But he's not here, he's in the village. So, had they tried to attack Bastion, he would have put up certainly a fight. Priests have 60 health. And they can use Grasping Tentacles attack, dealing 4d6 damage. Or Black Bile of the Profane One. Yeah, he wouldn't be just a 10 health commoner. Alright. So we follow the group of 3. They make it back to this very ominous looking manse. Very Resident Evil. And they slip inside into the darkness. And that's where it is. That's where we're sitting now. Now, obviously, we could torch the whole place, right? It would be pretty trivial to just set it on fire. I don't think I can use all-consuming fires of hell to target an object. No, it has to be creatures. So we wouldn't be able to do that. I don't have any other means of starting fire remotely. So someone would have to walk up with their... Oh, I never bought a tinderbox. I bought a torch and no way to light the torch. We're retconning. We're retconning, because he would have... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, okay, here, tinderbox. It's probably like a copper, so there you go. Just in case. I'm not going to torch the house, because our goal is to figure out a way to stop the curse. And again, it's possible that killing all the cultists involved will dissipate the magic and the curse, but usually that's not how it works. Usually, once these curses are in place, they have to be actively removed. They're not, like, sustained by magic users. So we need answers as to how to remove the curse. And there's also no guarantee that we will find that here, because why would they have information about how to lift one of their blessings? We may have to go speak to a third party, some sort of wizard or a priest. But we also don't want these cultists around. So we need to kill the cultists without torching the whole place, so that we can search the remnants just in case. Let's think. I mean, harmful syllable, followed by spell recovery, followed by next turn another harmful syllable, assuming Truco covers his ears. That's 6d6 damage to all of the things. I like that also will kill, like, every spider in the area, every worm in the area, every mosquito in the area, every bird, everything in 180 feet will just die. Insane! I can't believe this is a novice level spell. I love it. It's very potent. I mean, it's obscenely powerful, right? It won't kill the priest. But let's see. On average, it's going to do 22 damage. So on average, that's going to kill every one of the deacons. And we'll take off a third of the priest's health. And we can do this from outside the house. Like in behind a tree, you know. So then, like, they would obviously realize that something is shouting from outside the house. But they would not know where exactly I am. And they'd have to come out if they want to, like, put a stop to this. Which they would after I do it twice. Like, there's... What else are you going to do? They might start just covering their ears and barricade themselves inside or something. Maybe. But, again... By that point, most of them will be dead. And if they barricade themselves inside, good. They'll just keep their ears covered for the rest of their lives. It's too good of a plan, man. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, yeah, it sucks. I gotta kill every innocent creature within 180 feet. But that's a small price to pay. Alright, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna sneak up relatively close to the house. We don't really have to be that close. Within, like, I don't know, 40 feet. Behind a tree or something. And she'll tell Truco to cover his ears. Very tight. Very tight. Plug his eardrums completely. He's probably going to want to get some earplugs or something. Some balls of wax to just shove in there. But anyways... Then she's going to harmful syllable. And then she'll spell recovery and harmful syllable again. Again, if you were the DM, you could argue that after the first harmful syllable, all the priests are like clapping their hands over their eardrums or something like that, but most of them are sleeping right now. What I could do to slightly counteract that, maybe, is wait one turn. So they hear a shout. It fucking makes their ears bleed. Pretty much. And waking them up. And they're like, what the fuck? You know. And then like 10 seconds go by. And all is quiet. Like obscenely quiet. Because there's not even like crickets around. I don't think they would still be holding their ears. They'd be like, what the fuck was that? You know, they'd be like talking to each other or something. And that's when you hit them with the second harmful syllable. Alright, and now we're going to roll damage for all of them. So I said 6 deacons and a priest. Alright, so the first... you know, we'll keep track of this just because... Even though most of this is probably going to be dead. I hope. We could get some really shitty rolls. Alright. First Deacon, 66. 16 damage, so he's at 4. Second one, 18. He's at 2. Third, 21. Dead. Fourth, 23. Dead. Fifth, 23, dead. 6th, 24, dead. Told you. And the priest, 22, so he's at 38. I guess this is probably where we take it to the Oracle to see what exactly the remaining priests, or the remaining cultists do. 4 of their members are just dead on the floor. The other 2 are ready to just like, I mean, their ears are clamped shut now, and they're ready to just like bolt out of here into the wild blue yonder. But I don't know if they would. That's why I want to go to the Oracle. Will they bunker down inside, hands clapped over their ears for the rest of the night? Or will they burst out, hands still kind of clapped over their ears or something, to try and face whatever's out here? I don't know. 2 of them are at 2 health and 4 health. The only one really capable is the priest. And it's like, is the priest going to go out there to this unknown assailant in the dark? I don't think they burst out of the house. I don't think I even really have to roll. I think they make, again, all of them hands clapped over their ears. And I think all of them are probably gonna, or definitely the priest, looking to the windows, you know, trying to peek out and see if they see anything out there in the darkness. Any sort of target that they can focus on or be like, okay, that's it. But they're probably gonna bunker down because, my God. I mean, I thought Forest Barrier was one of the best spells in the game. Good Lord, I mean, there's some shit in this book. Harmful Syllable, ridiculous. And that, if they heard at any point, if they were listening again, hitting them with Hateful Syllable, cause them to just attack each other. Also really good. Not quite as effective because there is a decent chance that it just they miss because they're attacking with like a Bane. Whereas Harmful Syllable just guaranteed 3d6 damage. Oh God. And then at level 3 we get 2 castings, I think, per day. 2 castings per day. And so then, with spell recovery, we can do it 4 times in a row. Which is even more insane and ridiculous. Yeah. It's funny, because normally, if I was just leafing through this, and I saw evocation, and it's like, oh, the power of words, and shouts and stuff, it's like, it's kind of lame. I was never really that into the shouts in Skyrim. I was just like, okay, I don't really care. But no, this is some of the most like obscene shit at novice tier that I've seen. Go figure. Anyways. So I think they just kind of bunker down, and I think they're going to try and look out the window to try and see us and stuff like that. Truco, you know, he's obviously got his hands off his ears now. She gave him the okay. And also, if this was something that players really abused over and over and over, you could argue that he can't completely block out the sound of her shouting a word of power, and he takes at least a d6 of damage as well if he's within the radius. I could see that argument. And if anyone's going to abuse the shit out of it, it is me. So I probably should implement that. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think just like sticking your fingers in your ears is like, I can't hear anything ever again as long as I have my fingers right here, no matter how loud the sound is. I don't know. So he's probably got his bow out, and he's like got his, you know, he's looking at the front door, and he's looking at like the sides of the house, seeing if anything is creeping around. You know, there's probably a back door that he should go look at. In case they try and slip out the back door and make a run for it or something, he wants to shoot him in the back. So he'll slowly start to like creep around the house as he keeps an eye on the door and the windows and stuff like that. So, it's sort of a tricky, weird situation to adjudicate. Does he see the priest kind of like scanning the, you know, out the window, looking out the window and stuff like that? Does he see movement at all, you know? Is that just an intellect roll? There's no perception, so it's like if he sees it, he sees it, but hold on. I think there is, I think it might be intellect. Because it says there was something related to what I'm talking about. I mean, the searching section does mention... It mentions, like, if you're trying to find a door, like a secret door or something, might require extensive searching of the area and a successful intellect roll or luck roll. So we could bring it down to a luck roll, I suppose. Of just, like, he just happens to catch some movement. It has nothing to do with his visual acuity or something. He just happens to be at the right... looking at the right thing at the right time to see some movement in the window. So I'll give Trucro a luck roll as he's circling around the building. All right, he failed. So he doesn't see any movement in the window. He doesn't see any movement in the cracks in the wall or anything like that. And he circles around to the back. And there is a back door. Are they going to make a run for it? Let's take it to the Oracle here. I think it's unlikely. Running out into the darkness at night while deeply injured with unknown assailants, it would really just be pure panic mode sort of thing. So we're going to roll twice, and we'll take the lower result here of do they run. It's a D10. 7 and 10. They do. The priest won't. He's not that injured, and he's got a 14 will, you know. A 12 intellect. He knows that that's a really dumb plan. So he's staying, and he's probably like whisper shouting at them, like, "You idiots!" You know, as they make for the back door. But they've got both their hands like clutched over their ears and stuff. They can't hear shit, and they're just like, "Oh God!" Yeah, it was quite devastating. So Truco does see them pop open the back door, burst out of the back door, two of them clutching their ears, and he's just gonna take some easy shots here. I don't know, would they be that easy? It is dark. They're panicking. They're in complete panic mode, so they don't have lanterns or anything like that. They are just like running. And I feel like that's probably a Bane or something. Let's says here that the light of a full moon lets you see out to about a mile, although clouds, atmospheric conditions, and obstacles similarly reduce this distance. But it says here, fog, rain, snow, mist, and lack of light limit how far you can see. Obscurement can be light, moderate, heavy, or total. I'd impose a Bane. They're running, and it's dark out. It is not an easy shot that a novice could make, so we're going to impose a Bane on him, which means that with Trickery, this is just a flat roll against their defense. Normally, they have a defense of 15 with mail armor. They don't have that. They don't sleep in their armor. And really, no one sleeps in their armor. This is something I don't often get involved with. Of the whole sleeping with armor on, putting your armor back on in the morning or when you get up or anything like that. I don't usually fuck around with that just because it's kind of obnoxious. But the rules in Weird Wizard are pretty clear on that matter. That if you wear any kind of armor, even padded leather, even padded armor, if you sleep in that, you get no benefit from the rest whatsoever. As in, you don't recover any damage, you don't recover any spells. That's quite severe. And it has time that it takes to put on each type of armor. Light armor takes a minute to put on or off. Medium is 5 minutes to take on or put off, and heavy is 10 minutes. What this mostly means is in regard to nighttime ambushes. That's the most relevant bit. And I think it's just something that you declare, like at the start of a game, at the start of the whole campaign or whatever. You just say, okay, these are the rules. And unless you very specifically tell me that you are going to be sleeping in your armor, you will not have it on if you get ambushed during the night. You know, if you wake up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, you will not have your armor on. And it's just, that's the blanket rule. Unless you very specifically tell me that, yes, I understand, I will not get any benefits for this rest, but I'm sleeping in my armor. And I think that's the way to go about it. Most of the time, it's not going to matter. Most of the time, you don't even think about it. You hand wave it, whatever. You know, most of the time, it's like, okay, I take a little bit of time before I fall asleep. I take off my armor. And then in the morning, nothing's happening. I put on my armor. You know, most of the time, it doesn't matter. But for ambush purposes, it does. And this was very much an ambush. They did not put on their armor. So they have a defense of 10. They also probably don't have weapons. I'd give them a dagger, I guess, if it came to it, but I don't think it'll come to it. So he's going to fire. I guess he is hidden, so he also has a boon in general right now. So he'll fire with one boon with Trickery. That's a hit. It's already a hit. So that's 3d6 damage. Yes. Yes. 3d6 against the 4 health one. Why not? He's dead. So now the last surviving deacon sees an arrow come out of the woods, dropping his only buddy here, and yeah, it's not looking good for him. He might now try and run back inside the house. But I will give Truco one more shot before this guy runs back into the house. I could very much make the argument that he is still hidden, but I think by the rules, that is not the case. The guy is aware now that he's under fire, and that's mostly what we care about in regards to hidden. So this is just going to be a flat roll with Trickery. And he hits for a 3d6. Dead. Okay, so now the back door is like wide open. The guy was almost in, but he got an arrow through his spine and he drops dead. And now things are real quiet. Dude, we're fucking just ruthless. These two are just... Oh, man. Now represents a little bit of a more significant problem, because we are not aware at all, and really players would have no idea of how many are still left inside and what their condition is. This is probably where I, as the DM, would flip the script a little bit. And you have forced, you know, the players here have forced a dangerous, deranged individual into the brink of desperation. Right? This is a priest of an eldritch religion that has magical potential, has access to dark magic, and he has just witnessed his entire, you know, cell here, his entire sect or whatever of his religion getting massacred by unknown individuals. So he's being pushed to the brink. And I think here is where we unveil something much more horrific. And I think the priest is going to now turn to a rather forbidden ritual. You know, a last resort kind of ritual. To transform himself into like an avatar of the Great Devourer. A mindless creature of endless consumption. And so I'm looking at probably a difficulty 8 creature. I think 16 would be a little... I don't know. It's like... It might not be that obscene, but it is fairly obscene. Difficulty 16 creature, you're looking at like 200 health or something like that. Like it's pretty hefty. Easily capable of one-shotting us. Now there is one here that I think kind of could fit the bill. I don't know what difficulty it is. Let me check. The Muttering Maw, I think it's called. Hold on. I'll find it. It's difficulty 16, yes. That's a little too dangerous. I like the idea of it because it's mostly just like a big mouth. And I think if this plot line of the cult continues, Muttering Maw will definitely make an appearance. But it's probably a little too dangerous, even for me. Because it's difficulty 16, it's got 160 health. It attacks twice, +5 with 1 boon, dealing 66 damage. But at the end of every round, you roll a d6, and on a 6, the Muttering Maw becomes stunned until the end of the next round, but a new Muttering Maw crawls out of its mouth and takes the next available turn. And it comes in with full health. It says, once the Muttering Maw produces another Muttering Maw in this way, it loses access to this trait for 24 hours. But doesn't that imply then that the new Muttering Maw can also make a new one? I don't know. It seems pretty horrific. Alternatively, we could go with a mutant creature here. Like a mutant Terror Hulk. Which is pretty dangerous as well. It's 120 health, 7 defense only. But it is +5 with 1 boon, 6d6 damage. On a crit, it targets one other creature in reach, dealing another 3d6 damage to them. And at the end of the round, it rampages, increasing its speed by 3, rolls to attack with 2 boons, and its attacks deal an extra 1d6 damage. Yeah, I think this is probably a bit fairer of an option. Okay, so Truco waits a moment at the back. And then he moves back around to reconvene with Balance, who's still sitting there. And then she's been watching and stuff like that. And, you know, they're, like, whispering and discussing if they think that it's all clear. Because they haven't really heard much. They haven't seen movement inside or anything like that. And as they're sitting there discussing, one of the walls of the mansion just, like, bursts outward. Just this tremendous crash that completely upsets the silence in the area. And just... and dust and debris everywhere. And the whole house, like, shifts and threatens to collapse in on itself entirely, because that was quite the damage. And emerging from the hole there in the side of the house is this tremendous mutated, like, bloated mass, like, covered in mouths, you know, and just dripping drool everywhere, and just seething with anger and hunger. And I would say combat just starts. It is aware of their location. They are not hidden. I'm sure some players would argue that, but I'm going to say that the priest, while observing out of the windows, did see Balance sitting here. So, he knew where she was, and that's why he burst out of this wall. Okay, combat starts. We are 40 feet out, give or take. We'll round that to a decent number, so we'll say 15 yards. Which is a little dangerous, because if he runs, he'll be right up next to us. Funnily enough, I mean, this encounter is going to be barely an encounter. Because this isn't a boss monster, and it's a single creature. And that means that, with magic especially, it's practically nothing. But it is kind of exciting, so... Alright, we both take the initiative, of course. Of course. And Truco is going to take a shot. Now, we imposed a Bane earlier. This guy is size 2. So you probably could make the argument that he's quite visible. There might actually be a boon from a larger target. I don't know. No. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so, Tim. So if we imposed a Bane earlier, it's like, why are you not going to impose a Bane now? But I don't know, it seems kind of visible, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know. We'll just forget all the Banes now. Because we are outside. We're in moonlight. We got moonlight. I probably shouldn't have done the Bane earlier, but whatever. It's done. So no more Banes. So he's just gonna shoot now. And he's gonna... Oh no, he might... Fuck. Yeah, very ideally he'd put Brand of Cruel's Burning on. But if he does that, he can't take the initiative. And if he doesn't take the initiative, this thing's gonna run right up to him. But Brand of Cruel's Burning is pretty fucking beneficial. Okay, but Balance will tell him to not take the initiative. It's unnecessary. It's relatively unnecessary. So he will not. She will, however. And she is going to cast Logic Prison. So he is held for 1 minute. There is no way at all. There is zero way, unless his stat block specifically says that he can just ignore an affliction or something like that. Or if he is held, he suddenly becomes unheld. The only way for him to break out is to spend an action on his turn to roll an intellect roll. And he needs a success. This stat block specifically for the Mutant Terror Hulk. Actually, I think all the mutants, funnily enough, so whatever. But all the mutants have the unhinged trait, where they are intellect impaired and will impaired. So he will roll that intellect roll at -3 with a Bane. Which means that he has to roll, like, at least a 14. It's fairly unlikely any given round that he'll break out of the Logic Prison. And even if he does, that's his action, and I'll just do another Logic Prison on his ass. That's why I said this encounter is done, essentially. It's just kind of exciting. Alright, so she cast that. It's his turn. He's very upset. But he's gonna try to overcome this bullshit. It wouldn't work as well if the enemy has a ranged attack, because it just means their speed is 0. So if he had a ranged attack, he could still do it. But he does not. The Mutant Warp Caster does. And the Mutant Warp Master does. But that's about it. Alright, so his intellect roll, he rolled a 10, he failed. He is still held. Now, it does mean that Truco's hits against him and Balance's hits against him are done with 1 Bane. Which is relatively annoying, I would say. But, you know. To counteract that, maybe he'll spend his turn to use Rune of War. Yeah, we'll do that. He's going to cast Rune of War. I don't even think that's even once per day. I think he can just use Rune of War whenever the fuck he wants. Which means... Hold on. Hold on. Give me a moment. Symbolism. Rune of War. Yes. 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 That means that he could also buff all of his allies as well. It's only a minute, so you are losing some time there. But for the two of us, he could, if he wanted to, he could put it on Balance's bow as well. She's almost certainly going to use all-consuming fires of hell. But, you know. Yeah, so he's going to use Rune of War. On his own bow. Then it's a new round. We could both take initiative, but there's also not any reason to. Truco especially doesn't want to. She could, but I think it's more we want to wait and see if he breaks out of the logic prison, and then we can just smack it on him again. So we'll both wait. He gets to go. He's going to roll his intellect. He rolled a 13. It's a guaranteed fail with the Bane. Yep. So he's still held. Now, he's going to shoot. So he does have one boon on the roll with trickery. And he'll deal an extra d6 damage. So 4d6 if he hits. He rolled a 13. This thing has a defense of 7, by the way. So 4d6 damage. 15. Okay. Mutant Hulk. 105. Okay. But I think there's a little bit more because we're hitting him with the brand of Cruelest Burning. Which is when I got a success on the roll, which I did. So he's impaired in an attribute and takes an extra d6 from the first hit each round. So an extra d6 of 5. He's at 100. And we're going to make him impaired in agility. Because she's going to use all-consuming fires of hell. Which is against his agility. Let me double check exactly what that means. You roll with one Bane when using the specified attribute, and you grant one boon on rolls. Okay, so she will get a boon on her all-consuming fires of hell now. Alright, so then her turn, she's going to cast all-consuming fires of hell. Which means that it's good because otherwise she would have gotten a Bane on her roll. Because of the logic prison, imposes one Bane on all attacks. So now it's just a normal flat roll. Her plus 4. Yeah, her plus 4 versus his 8. Pretty likely. Yep, that is actually a crit. So she regains the casting and deals 3d6 damage to him. 11 damage. He's at 89. And he catches fire. On fire. Luck ends with one Bane. This dude's fucked, man. We are serial killers. We are mass murderers. We are some dangerous people. New round. Actually, at the end of the round, he takes a d6 from being on fire. Takes 3 more damage. He rolls his luck with a Bane. He fails, so he's still on fire. Time marches on. Neither of us will take the initiative, because it doesn't matter at this point. We can also put a baffling pattern in the air as well. Except that has potential to hurt us and cause us to become confused. So we're just gonna skip it. We're good enough. We got this. So it's his turn. He's going to roll for logic prison again. He got a 13. Again, guaranteed failure with his -3 and a Bane. So we're gonna go. He's gonna fire again with one boon. He succeeds for 5d6. Thanks to the brand. 20 more damage. It's 66. She's gonna cast all-consuming fires of hell again. D20. That is another crit. So she still has not spent a casting of it. 3d6 damage. 7 more. He's at 59. New round. He takes 1d6 from fire. 3 more. Blows his luck roll with a Bane. Oh, I think he succeeds there. That's okay. We're going to be putting him on fire next turn. So he is out of it. Yeah, we'll just hold on. Okay, new round. His turn. His logic prison. Fail. We shoot him again. 9. It's a hit, but not a crit. 5d6. 14 more damage. So that brings him down to 42. She's going to cast All-Consuming Fires of Hell. That is a hit, not a crit, so she does spend a casting. He is on fire again, and she deals 3d6 for 9 damage. He's at 33. Takes the fire damage, 5 more. He's at 28. It's almost cruel, really, except he brought this on himself. His luck roll, fail. He's still on fire. New round. His turn. Fail. Logic prison. Another shot. That is a crit. It's an 18 plus 5. Yeah, it's a crit, but it's irrelevant. It's 5d6 either way. He doesn't get any benefit. 19 more damage. I think this is going to be it. He's at 9 health. All-Consuming Fires of Hell is a crit, so she didn't spend a casting. 3d6 damage, dead. Well, what have we learned? Basically the same lesson we usually learn. 1, magic is ridiculous and fucking insanely useful. And 2, single tough enemies are not usually a threat to any competent group of players. It's almost anticlimactic, really. Actually, I guess it is. It was cool when he burst out and it's like, oh, fuck. And then you realize, oh, wait, he's intellect impaired and there's only one of them. Yeah, that was 1 logic prison casting. Nullified an entire fight. Okay. Job done. So then I think we'd kind of just like wait for another minute or so just to see if anything else can be heard or any movement seen or anything bursting out. And then we'd poke our heads in and start rummaging around. And what do we find? Well, we gotta find some money, of course. Maybe like, I don't know, like 18 silver pieces or something like that. We'll go with that. And there's got to be some oddities, some trinkets or something. So let's go. There is various magical items. There's trinkets. I mean, there's a list here of trinkets, but I don't know. I like more minor, just kind of fun things, like, you know, one-time use fun stuff, or I don't know. That's another just big conundrum that I have, is just like fun little magic items just kind of scatter around. I mean, there's always like scrolls. You can throw scrolls around. Let me look here in the GM book at oddities. Okay, here we go. This is more what we're looking for, I guess. Although this could be anything. One per character per tier. All right, we're gonna find 2 oddities. That might be a bit much. So we're going to find 1 oddity, and then if I think it's not cool or good enough or something, then we'll get a second one. But it might be quite good. So we're going to just find an oddity here, and we're going to roll entirely randomly on the oddity table. You know what? I'll be nice to you guys, and we'll bring up the oddity table. Even though it takes like an hour to load a specific section of one of these PDFs. And that basically froze Firefox. Probably is going to break my recording and who knows what else. Alright, this is page 51. Alright, here we go. So the form of oddity. D20, it's armor. Okay, well that's pretty good. Magical armor. Why do they have it? Don't question it. Do not question that. All right, the oddity properties. This is a pretty big one. 9. The oddity increases the owner's health score by 5. 10 at level 3 or 20 at level 7. Wow. Well, this all seems pretty fucking good. Oh, I was supposed to roll a d6. Okay. So yeah, all right. So there's 6 tables of properties. So I gotta roll a d6. We got a number 9 on our d20, but it's gonna be on this 4th table. The oddity has 1 charge. It regains the charge 24 hours after being expended. As an action, the owner can expend the charge to grant itself and each ally within 5 yards 1 boon on attribute rolls for 1 minute. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So we'll say, you know, you want to just make it leather armor? I guess. Could be anything. I mean, I don't want to make it plate armor or something. That seems really valuable. It's just I could make it padded armor. But no, we'll make it leather. So we're going to get leather armor of assistance, we'll call it. So we balance is going to equip that. So it's the same amount of defense and everything. It's just once per day. Although annoyingly, it specifically says 24 hours. And then you got to keep track of that shit. It's like, oh, well, what time of day did you use it last? Like, fuck that. Just recover it after resting. So I don't even know where you'd write stuff like that. Take up all my text here. I'm gonna just ditch this other leather armor. We don't need it. Once per day, you and allies within 5, 1 boon for... There's so much text, man. There's probably a way to shorten that. Well, you could do this shorthand there, I guess, 1 day. Yeah, it's fine. Alright. So we find that. That's good. Do we want a second oddity? I think that's relatively minor. I mean, that's not that big of a power jump. So we'll go with the second one. So let's go back to the oddity form. 16. It's a vehicle. Oh, God. A boat, a rickshaw, or a wagon. That's an oddity form? Really? A rickshaw? Do I even want to entertain that thought? That they have a magical rickshaw in their cult den? It's just so stupid. No, some other time, maybe. A toy. Okay. Okay, a doll, a ball, blocks. Okay, they have like a creepy doll that we can sense magical energy coming off of. And we're going to be rolling on table 4 again. And we got 3. The oddity has 3 charges. As an action, the owner can expend 1 charge to release a blast of energy from the oddity at 1 creature or object within 15. The target takes 2d6 damage, and the owner makes a roll using an attribute of the owner's choice against agility. On success, target takes an extra 2d6. Okay, it's kind of funny. I'm gonna ditch my quarterstaff. That's never getting used. Doll of blasting. 3 charges. That's 3 charges total. Mind you, this is a consumable item. It does not recover like the leather armor. So 3 charges. Within 15. 2d6. Plus attribute versus agility. Extra 2d6. Okay. Good. There's our 2 oddities. Done. Now, we also have to find some sort of eldritch tome. Some sort of dark, you know, the Necronomicon. Not the Necronomicon. Something... The Cults des Ghouls or something, you know. But, you know, if I was... I'm going to ask ChatGPT. We want a Latin... Oh, here you go. The Veracis Codex. I came up with a bunch of choices. So we got the Veracis Codex, which translates roughly to the Codex of the Devourer. Devoratio Magnus, the Great Consumption. Libri Veraginis. I don't know how authentic this Latin is, or if it's just pig Latin, but my players certainly wouldn't know. Manducatio Aeterna, the Eternal Feast. Vocum Voraginis, Voice of the Maw. I like Devoratio Magnus, the Great Consumption. I think that's pretty great. So we find a tome with those letters stitched into it. Devoratio Magnus. And she's gonna pick this up. Very dangerous for Balance to have. She might slip further into and be like, well, you know, this cult is pretty bad, but there is power here that could be harnessed if one is strong enough. Very dangerous to have. Truco should be quite adamant about her not taking that, but, you know, when she wants her way, she gets it. So she's gonna take it because she figures, hey, you know, this might be the only way to save our village and lift the curse. And maybe it is. Maybe it is the only way. This is where you'd probably want to look more towards Demon Lord and start taking some of the corruption mechanics or insanity mechanics. Weird Wizard doesn't support that stuff. You know, it doesn't have any of that built in. So you'd have to come up with some alternative if you want to delve into these Eldritch Tomes. I don't know. We'll see what comes of it. But again, I gotta point to ChatGPT. That's really fucking handy. I would not have been able to come up with that. I don't know any Latin, and I don't know anything. And it gave me like 5 pretty good options. And again, I don't know if it's like actual Latin, but it sounds good to a layman, and that's all I care about. So, yeah, ChatGPT. Really handy. Okay. Other than that, there's not much here. You know, there is a bunch of cultists, mostly bleeding from their ears, dead, but we got money. I don't know what else, it would be up to players if they're like, well, is there any of this? Or, is there anything like this that we can find? I don't know what they'd really be looking for. Mostly care about money. We got 2 oddities, some money, and a Eldritch Tome. I mean, that's a pretty good haul, I think. All for taking no damage whatsoever. And again, for a novice tier, that was, God. Okay, so that was 2 points each for each of the deacons, so that's 12 points. And then technically with the Mutant Hulk, well, that was kind of a separate encounter. I don't know. Well, with the Priest, that was 16 points. The 6 deacons and the Priest was 16 points of an encounter. Which, yeah, needless to say, way off the charts for novice tier. Our novice tier hard encounter for us is 6 points. So that was nearly as if I took on 3 hard encounters at once. The Mutant Hulk was its own thing. That was 8 points, which, again, also off the scale for hard. But I think it's fair to say that encounter building is sort of pointless if you have players that really know how to creatively use spells. Do not adhere. Do not adhere to the encounter building numbers in that case. Just throw shit at them in the OSR tradition and let them solve it. The encounter building is useful if your group is more like, Unga Bunga, I charge in and I'm going to attack. And you have like 6 fighters or something, or something, I don't know, something like that, where they just use their combat abilities in combat like gentlemen. We are not gentlemen. We will use whatever it fucking takes to win with no damage on our side. The way that it's meant to be. Alright, and then after that we would head back to town. And now this priest is going to be in pretty rough spot. We're going to spend some time now. Balance is going to be studying this tome, trying to find a way to lift this curse. And I have to come up with some sort of corruption mechanic, or I mean, you don't even have to make it a mechanic, really. You could just work it narratively in some way. Depends on how on board the player is with, like, becoming a corrupted character. If they aren't that good at role-playing or something like that, then you may have to work in mechanics. Something like that. Depends on the situation, depends on the player. So we'll see. Obviously, I'm already playing Balance to be pretty corruptible, so we may not have to incorporate any mechanics here. And maybe, really, what you'd like to do, then, is... The curse can be lifted, but it requires something negative. It requires something heinous. Maybe sacrifice or something like that. And Balance is like, well, it's for the greater good. We can save the whole village, we just have to sacrifice an innocent. And I think it would be important to specify innocent, because obviously we'd like to just sacrifice the charismatic priest, but that's not going to cut it. We'll probably go that route, because I think that's relatively interesting. More interesting in a group of players with differing opinions, because then you'd be like, no, we'll find another way. There's got to be some other way. We'll find some wizard or something that'll solve this. And then you'd have the chaos player that's just like, no, this is the only way. Accept it. We'll see. Either way, time is ticking. The priest won't know that what has happened here, because he only meets with them like once a week. So they have a week before the guy meets back up with the cultist. They were supposed to. And they know that. They overheard that. So they have some time to figure this out before the priest realizes something is up. But probably once he goes to meet with them, they're just going to kill him. Because, why not? Who knows what he might do. They witnessed, something horrific burst out of the house there, so who knows what the priest might do. Probably an equal thing. Or he'll run, he'll just flee. Is maybe more likely. anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today. I think that was good. That was plenty of fun. Not level 3. I'm not really ready. Level 3 maybe once we resolve the whole curse and are ready to leave the village finally. But yeah. For now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging, Shadow of the Weird Wizard, generic Hexcrawl number 6279. I'll see you fine, folks, in the next part.